So Niranjan, tell me one thing. How old are you right now?
Very interesting question. When people ask me how old I am, I ask them this. Are you asking me my physical age, psychological age, or spiritual age? Physically, right now I'm 25. Psychologically, I used to answer like this when I was 21 years. And spiritually, I'm timeless.
So hi Niranjan, welcome to Mike and Shorts. I'm really excited to have you here. How do you feel?
Divyansh. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Like I said, like beautiful Sunday morning, insightful conversation, pleasant vibes. This is my kind of morning. Really, really excited.
Amazing. So I would let the listeners know a bit about you and what you do. But even before that, let's just give some context on the fact that we connected a few days ago. Sanjay Reddy, my friend, he's also a designer and he's your friend as well. He connected me to you and told me about your beautiful podcast called SoulFlow Podcast. It's there on Spotify. And I think when I listened to your episodes, I was kind of hooked because most of your episodes are centered around the self, right? The core, right? And how you reach that level of understanding, that was another thing which intrigued me. So, as per our conversations earlier, I think let's pick up one of the topics, which is self-awareness. But even before talking about self-awareness, I would want you to talk about yourself a little bit so that the audience, they get in and they understand what's it all about, right? Yeah.
About me. See, my name is Niranjan. So I have this Instagram page called SoulFlow Art. And now it's slowly turning to an art school. I teach people how to make beautiful pen illustrations. And over the past 1 year, ever since I actually started teaching on a commercial scale, I've taught over 700 students all over the world. And I hold my own, in addition to small workshops. And this, I hold these 1 month long, 2 month long art boot camps. And currently the 9th batch for my art boot camp just entered. It was Onam yesterday, and it's an amazing time. So this one, it's what you say, I specialize in pen illustrations. What inspires me are travel sketches, things that inspire me in my journeys. In my journey or as an artist and as a spiritual seeker. That's the main inspiration behind my artwork. So even through my art, in addition to teaching people how to draw, also teach people, put into people certain concepts such as meditative experiences, finding your zen with pen, and a whole lot of other stuff.
Got it. So as I just mentioned, you are an illustrator, you're into pen sketching. What gave you the motivation to start a podcast like the SoulFlow Podcast? So I just wanted to also tell the audience about even me, I want to understand more about your podcast. What was the motive behind it and why did you start that SoulFlow Podcast?
My SoulFlow Podcast, I had started nearly 1 year ago. Although the podcast currently has been inactive for some time, I started it during a very, very difficult phase of my life. When I wanted to do something, it was much before I actually started teaching art. I wanted to do something and I didn't know what to do. What I was mostly seeking was a means to share what I had, right? I had no purpose of eventually that this would grow to a business or anything else. I just was seeking a means to share. And I found relief in SoulFlow Podcast. That's what inspired me to start. Just sharing journeys, just talking about it. It is a very, very liberating experience. It's like those rain clouds which just wants to pour out.
Yeah. Even I felt that when I listened to your episodes that most of the episodes were quite in-depth and they were coming from personal experience, I felt, right? So for all of those who haven't really listened to your podcast yet, I would actually suggest them to go and listen to your podcast. It's called SoulFlow. and I'll even give the description of your the link to your podcast in the description box. But from what I heard in your podcast, right, the episodes and the different paradigms you covered over there, right, I would like to focus on the major thing which also it's kind of impacting me, and it's kind of impacting everybody right now, right? It's self-awareness, right? So people in today's day and age, self-awareness is a word we've heard, everybody's heard about it, right? But most of us don't really know what self-awareness is. We feel that we know ourselves really well. We are aware about ourselves, our actions and all that, right? But most of us are living on we believe in the perception of others. So the perception of others, right? That's, I think, what you also talked about in one of your episodes. Yes, right. It's like an onion peel, and the onion is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The core is getting surrounded by the peels and peels and peels, right? So we're not really kind of finding ourselves in the process. We are kind of still, trying to find, but getting lost, right? Still getting lost in the process and listening to people and doing what they really want us to do, but not doing what we really want to do in life, right? Or just being happy, right? So from your perspective, Niranjan, how would you define self-awareness, right? That's my first question to you.
Firstly, Divyansh, thank you so much for starting off with such a wonderful question. This is something, self-awareness, something that I'm very, very keen about talking. In fact, in SoulFlow Podcast, I talked about a few key things: happiness, self-awareness, and following your passion. So like I told you, I started it as a very difficult time in my life when I was facing financial difficulties, and I had just dropped out of college. So I was facing a lot of social pressure and a whole lot of other stuff. Now, I believed in my dreams. I believed that I had a certain ability, which is teaching people in general. I specialize in teaching pen illustrations, but I see myself as a teacher who can just teach, right? So I really believed in it, and I wanted to share that this, it really does work. Like the whole topic of self-awareness, it is really underrated. You have to believe in your goal. You have to go the way. So that is what led me into this whole journey in the first place. Now, regarding self-awareness, what is more interesting should be, why is it that we are not as self-aware as we should be? Ever since I was a child, I was a loner. I was kind of a loner. And I spent most of my time by myself, reading, meditating, just trying out different things on my own. Before I became an artist, I was a dancer. So I've tried several stuff before. Now, an interesting thing took place. When we are by ourselves, there is this silence around us. Okay, this is a very, very loud kind of a silence. Just sit by yourself, or sometimes just with your own thoughts, and your thoughts become louder and louder. Then after some time, thoughts start dying down. Then that's when you start, realizing that silence. Most people call this boredom, but this is the state. This is that beautiful state where where you can go beyond go beyond your usual perspective. What happens is, we are never left by ourselves. We are constantly surrounded by people. There is so much noise going on. Now, with so much entertainment at our fingertips, there is hardly any space for silence left in our lives. So what happens is, we are constantly feeding so much thought impressions into our mind, so much thought impressions, so much impulses, and all of this is really cluttering up our mind. Now, rather than really reflecting upon what are your priorities, what is it that actually makes you happy, you would rather take a script handed over to you by your friends that the key to happiness is Netflix and chill. Get it? So what's most important to understand is that, why is it that we're not self-aware? truth is, every person who's talked about self-awareness in depth has this. They have said there's several methods. Some people say that for them it's meditating for long hours. Some people have said that it's their craft which led them to this. Some people have said that it's their business that led them to this. But one thing that you see common in all of them is that rather than just merely accepting a script that was handed over to them by others, be it their parents, be it their teachers, be it their friends, these people started thinking for their own, started accepted their aloneness. Understand?
Yes.
So that really is what I have discovered. And fortunately, I accidentally stumbled across this book. Before even reading about it anywhere, I stumbled across it.
Right. So Niranjan, tell me one thing. How old are you right now?
Very interesting question. When people ask me how old I am, I ask them this. Are you asking me my physical age, psychological age, or spiritual age? Physically, right now I'm 25. Psychologically, I used to answer like this when I was 21 years old. Okay? Psychologically, I must certainly be in my 30s, 40s. And spiritually, I'm timeless.
That's a very deep answer. This is exactly why I asked you this question, because I know that you were around 25 years physically, but the topics you've covered in the podcast and the level of depth you show in the episodes, it seems like you have spent a lot of time with yourself and figured things out. And that's how you talk about things like discovering your Buddha nature, right? That's something which kind of intrigued me a lot, that you discovered a Buddha nature, and then you also talked about focus, right? And then you also talk about boredom leads to creativity, stuff like that,
Boredom
right?
leads to creativity. Yes.
Right. Now, all these things, right? Buddha nature, right? Boredom, right? All these things are somewhere connected to the self, right? I feel that all these things are somewhere connected to the self.
Yes.
So tell me one more thing, Niranjan, that what are the tools? So you talked about spending time with yourself, like meditation, right? Sitting in silence. So are there any more tools? So for example, people who listen to this podcast, right? They want to be more self-aware, or they want to make that effort. They want to kickstart their journey, and they're too busy, to get even 30 minutes or 1 hour, or they're not really motivated to, be self-aware. Like that's another thing. Inspiration and motivation. Inspiration is external, so I get inspired by you, but motivation is internal. How to get motivated from the inside to be self-aware, or get onto that journey to be self-aware, right? But still, there may be some other tools to at least get that kickstart in the life. Anybody can kickstart on the journey. Do you have knowledge of any of these tools? So I think meditation is one. Anything else apart from that?
When we talk about meditation, we think of a person. What is the first image that comes to your mind when I say the word meditation? What is the first image that comes to your mind? I'm asking you.
The first image that comes to my mind, I think
second, on the instant I say meditation, what's the image that comes to you?
I see the outline of a yogi, and behind there are stars, and there's a solar system. So that's the first image that comes to my mind.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So it's about a yogi, a monk, probably sometimes with a beard. Maybe he might be a bald monk, depending on what culture you're in. Okay. Or it might be a priest if you're a Christian, and then you might see Jesus. So see, all of these are the thing is that we don't associate with what we do on a day-to-day basis. It kind of seems, especially when you say solar system, I love that imagination. When you say solar system, it kind of seems out of our grasp, out of our reach. So there are all these, like, oh my God, meditation. It's hype around it. Meditation, more than an action, We need to change the perception of meditation in the way, like people see it. Meditation is not just about sitting, closing your eyes and sitting in a place. Meditation is more like a state of being. More like a state of being. We can be meditative while we are talking. See, meditation is a quality that you bring to your action. We can be meditative while we are designing. We can be meditative while we are eating. We can be meditative while we are drinking. It's like saying eating with love. Eating with love.
Right.
So, right, it's a certain quality that you bring to your action. And what is this quality? When there is that involvement into your action, that complete involvement. You see, when you're eating, people say mindful eating.
Yeah.
Say mindful eating. So you're just being with the food, you're enjoying all of its taste, you're fully being with the food, you're not worried about anything else at the time. When you're eating, you're just eating. Similarly, when you're drawing, you're just drawing. So when you asked me about the tools to self-awareness, anything can be a tool towards self-awareness. It is not about the act in itself as much as the quality you bring to it.
Got it.
Right. For everyone who wants to just start out on their journey, the first and most important that can be done is whatever is it that we are doing. Whatever is it that we are doing. Try to give in your 100%. 100% is often perceived in terms of the effort, or in terms of the quality of outcome of the work. More than that, what I am saying about is the intention. The intention to act. The intention to act, regardless of the result. If that is 100%, the involvement in the action. See, these are mostly voluntary. We are both artists. We are both artists, we are both designers. Your design might be much better. Your design could have a higher price. My design might not be as good. Yet, I could be more involved while I'm involved in the process of design.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Whatever is it that we are doing, while we are having a conversation with another person, why not give your fullest attention to that person? Right? Why are you suddenly worried about anything else? Why are you worried about what is it that you're going to say next? Why not just be involved? Just give your complete presence to that person. Give your person that presence. So that is a great tool for anyone. But it's not easy. It's certainly not easy. It's easier said than done. It's a practice. It's a continuous practice. Like any other skill, this also is a skill. This involvement.
To add to that, I think it's a very interesting point, which kind of leads me to something I read recently about, right? So I read, so what you just said, what I understood from what you said is that try to be in the present and try to focus on what you're doing, right? Be it
yes.
being with your family or doing your work, right? Or watching the TV or even eating food. Now the thing is,
even watching the TV.
Yeah.
Even watching the TV. We can be fully involved watching the TV as well.
Exactly. So being in the present and focusing on what you're doing at that particular moment. And there's a term which I read about for this. It's called the flow state. So
flow state, yes.
So when you're in the flow state,
it became popular with this book.
Yes.
Mihai, there's a famous book. Yes.
Yes. So basically, for people who don't know what flow state is, so flow state is basically when you are so involved in doing something that you lose the sense of time, right? And then you just keep doing it, and you're so interested in the task and lost in the process. You just 3-4 hours just like go by, and you don't even realize. And that is a key to longer life as well. So people who live longer actually achieve the flow state regularly. So there's this book, I think you mentioned Ikigai. So I read a few chapters of that. I haven't read the whole book, but whatever I've read, it was quite interesting. Right. So there are like 6-7 blue zones across the earth. Different cities, for example, say in Japan and somewhere in Costa Rica, maybe in Europe and South America, there are 6-7 cities. These are called blue zones. Over there, people are their average age is around 100 plus. So they stay beyond 100, stay alive beyond 100. That's majorly because they have achieved ikigai. It's like doing what you love to do, and even earning from it and achieving happiness through it. So it's like a what do you call, a Venn diagram, right? At the center, it's complete fulfillment. So I think from that, I just took out one term called flow state, where you can kind of get lost in the process, and you do that almost every single day regularly, and to achieve longevity, right, of life. So I think that's quite interesting, Niranjan. And I wanted to even understand one more thing. So you just talked about being with yourself and stuff like that. There's another term which I wanted to understand more about. It's introspection.
Yes.
Introspection. Yeah.
Introspection.
So does introspection lead to self-awareness, or does it not? And I'm not sure if you have the answer to this, but I read a bit about introspection, and it's kind of the path to self-awareness maybe, but it does not always lead to self-awareness. What's your opinion on it?
Firstly, I will tell you regarding flow. So flow state is when you're so involved in something, you lose sense of time. Absolutely. There is another aspect of this as well. Okay? When you're so involved and the task is also difficult enough so that you're pushed to your potential.
Yes.
You can be involved and you can be bored.
Yes.
You can be involved and you can be very bored. Okay, so when there are all these different states: arousal, flow, boredom, anxiety, all of these, there are different states. Very interesting. It's a balance between the effort, the difficulty that is needed, and the environment. When both of these are optimal, that's when the flow state is achieved. Very, very interesting topic. So everyone who's listening to this, I would really, really recommend reading that book, Flow. It's from this author. I forgot the author's name. Mihai, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So very good book. Very good book. It's a very useful thing. And it is connected to longevity, happiness, and a lot of other stuff.
Yes.
It's been proven. I mean, when you're just happy doing what you love doing, it reduces the risk of heart attack, other long-term health complications, and all of that, and you can absolutely live longer. You're happier, you want to live longer.
Yeah.
Regarding introspection, and does it lead to self-awareness? I would always say self-awareness is not a goal in itself, not an end goal in itself, but rather a process in the making. Just consider the craft that we do. The craft that we do. I'm an artist, an illustrator, but at no stage can I say that I have made it. Although I teach, I am still a student myself. I'm still improving. There are many things that I can learn. I can expand horizontally, I can expand vertically. All of these ways I can expand. Similarly, regarding self-awareness as well, I think it is always just different scales. So rather than seeing it as an end goal which can be achieved, think of it as a process in the making, and it will be much more easier for us to comprehend. Now, does introspection lead to it? Yes, introspection could be a pathway to it. People are can be classified into extroverts, and introverts. For each person, there are different paths. For some people, getting involved in a lot of external affairs, social activities, and all of that could be the place where they find their zen, where they find their flow, their ikigai, and that is what can lead to higher self-awareness, higher realization of oneself, and more happiness.
Yeah.
Then there are people who look inwards. So there is no one shoe fits all, and that is the beauty of this journey. It's about exploration.
Absolutely. So on the theory front, I had to add to what you just said, right? On the theory
Yes.
aspect, I read a bit about self-awareness. So I read a few articles written by the Harvard Business Review and all that, right? So they had
Mhm.
done some research on that. According to them, there are two kinds of self-awareness. One is the internal
Uh-huh.
one. The second is external self-awareness. When we talk about introspection, it's mostly internal self-awareness, where we sit and question ourselves, right? Why?
Why?
Now what happens is, as per a research, they showed that people who question why have I done this, why am I not excelling in my work, why is my
Mm.
relationship failing, they are not really able to answer, they're not able to get the exact answer to the question. The reason is that
Mm.
we have some preconceived notions, you know uh, you know as
Biases.
you talked about a very beautiful concept called tabula rasa, which is a
Tabula
clean
rasa.
slate. When you're born,
Clean
you're
slate.
born with a clean
Oh.
slate, right? But
Oh, you
then,
listen to all of it.
yes, and then
Lovely.
people come in your life and they add their, the expectations and all that, then the onion peel thing happens, right? So when you ask the question why, you don't really get the answer, right? Because it's very subjective. The question why is very subjective. The real question should be what, because whenever you give the answer to what, it's kind of objective, and it's little what do you call, future focused. Why is more of focused on the past. So if you really want to introspect, talk to yourself, ask the question, what should you have done better? Maybe say,
Beautiful.
what is the reason why
Beautiful.
you are failing in your job, right? And then you give objective answers to that question also, and it's a little future focused. And another thing is that we generally don't talk to people around us, right? For external self-awareness, how do people perceive us, right? That is another thing which the study talked about. And people generally don't see that aspect when it comes to self-awareness, because they think that it's the term self essentially means that it should be confined to the self. But as per the study, we need to go beyond self and even talk to people and reach out to them and see how they perceive us, to get a better understanding of the full picture of self-awareness.
Yes. Otherwise, we can easily be delusional.
Yeah, that's delusional. That's another term, I think, that's quite trending also, delusion. And lovely Niranjan, I think we are getting deep into this, right? Now tell me one more thing, Niranjan.
Yes.
Since if somebody starts on a journey of self-awareness, right, he or she is starting with whatever you just talked about, right? The process, anybody can start with it, right? Now, how is this the foundation for growth? I think this is the topic of one of your podcasts also. Self-awareness is the foundation for growth, right? I want you to talk a little bit more about that. How is self-awareness the foundation for growth?
How is self-awareness the foundation? Okay. And I thought you wanted to add a little more into this, or is this a complete question?
Maybe I think when you just try and
The way
shed
you
some light on
ended it
this.
seemed like how is self-awareness? Right.
Because I had another question that was more related to the connection between self-awareness and aloneness. Yes. So you had even talked about that. Yes. So first I would like you to answer.
It seemed like it sounded like a pregnant pause.
No, I had something in mind, but I thought I wanted you to answer this first, and then I'll add on to that. How is it the foundation for growth?
We can climb up a ladder, go all the way up, and then towards end realize we are leaning against the wall. We were leaning against the wrong wall all the while. You get what I'm saying? So, a person like me, who, I have had several peculiarities as a child. Which is, firstly, I hated being told what to do. I was more interested in exploring my creative side and like making things on my own, rather than just accepting things, what has been handed over, and just nearly implementing it.
Yeah.
All these have several peculiarities. I hated this. I hated the fact that like I had to live within certain constraints and by others for me. I did not want to call anyone my boss, my sir, none of that. None of that. I realized these facts about myself. Now imagine a person like me working in IT. What would it lead to? I know what I want. This is what self-awareness, understanding of one's own strengths and one's own shortcomings,
Oh,
and
yes.
acceptance of it. This is what
Yes.
self-awareness is. Now, what more is most important for everything else? See, there could be people. I'm not putting these qualities on a pedestal and saying that this is the way a human being is supposed to be. Kindly do not perceive me that way, dear listeners. No, that is not what I mean. What I meant is this is me. I completely accept myself the way I am. This is my nature. A rose is a rose, a lotus is a lotus. Now you can't say that each one is better than the other. Everything is needed. Everyone is needed. So this is me. Now what is it that I can do? I had to make a career of my own for that. I had to make a career of my entrepreneurship was my path. For that. Now, if your qualities are different, go for something that works for you. So yes, understanding of oneself, one's own strengths, one's own shortcomings, one's own desires, all of these are the foundation. And
Wow.
the reason why a lot of people grow up to be in their 40s, 50s, and then phases, it's a very popular term, a mid-age crisis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Years into their career, they realize this is not what they wanted all along, and they
Oh,
it's very common, right?
absolutely.
Why? Why not? Why not spend your first initial years trying out different things?
Yeah.
Trying out different things,
Yeah.
and really see how do we know what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses? It's not very easy because we are constantly bogged down by expectations of others. We take those expectations to be our own. So the real thing is to explore for oneself what is it that one wants, and this is the reason why monks went to meditate in caves. Why? Because no one was there to disturb them. They could just do whatever they wanted to do. They knew this.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why it's just like saying a student to focus better on his exams, locks himself up in a room and studies. See, that is considered normal. Why shouldn't this be considered normal? 14 years we spent in school listening to what our teachers had to say, what our friends had to say. In the end, after schooling, we learn a lot of things, yet we don't know anything about ourselves. We know about how many soldiers went for World War I, but yet we do not know that our deepest longing for our heart. By the way, I still don't know how many soldiers went for World War I. Okay.
Right. So, very interesting point, because you said talk about the foundation for growth and all. So I'll share an interesting aspect from my life as well. So in 2017 I completed my MBA, right, and I was waiting for my job offer to come, right? And I was at my home in Delhi, sitting in my room, and my cousin came up to me. I was quite bored at that time. It's like 2-3 months of doing nothing, and right, because my MBA had just completed, the course was just over. So I actually came through, my cousin showed me this YouTube channel, and I was kind of hooked as to how are these creators doing so much stuff on YouTube, and why am I not doing it? Now, what happened was that I kind of, at the same time, the 2-3 days, I kind of connected to my childhood. So I was kind of interested in cricket commentary. I used to mimic those cricket commentators, Harsha Bogle, Ravi Shastri, and all those people, right? And just used to mimic them in front of the mirror and all that, right? And I had always had the creative knack, because I used to even blog about technology on my Blogspot blog in 2011 during my college time. So when I came back
Mhm.
from Mumbai, I was kind of bored for 2-3 months. I was doing nothing at all. I kind of figured that I may be, more inclined towards doing something of my own and creating something of my own. So I think this comes from the point that you had talked about in an episode about boredom, right? Boredom leads to
Boredom is just
creativity, and yeah,
creativity. Yes.
it's like a
Yes.
springboard,
Yes.
and right, space is like a springboard, right? So I am kind of connecting that with this. So that boredom, that free time, that space kind of gave me that springboard to be little more self-aware as to what I wanted from life. And that's when within 3 months I started putting in efforts toward creating my own YouTube channel. Had I been not given any time to think about the YouTube channel, say I had just started after my MBA, like one day after my MBA, I wouldn't have got the time to think about that, right? So that's so important for most of us to give ourselves a little bit of time. No, I'm not saying meditate or anything like that. Meditation is maybe the next level. Just give yourself time, right? Some free space. Don't really push yourself to do something that, you have to do something all the time, right? Give yourself some space, even one day,
Just
two
being with
days.
one's thoughts.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of gives you your life kind of comes together to give you direction, maybe. That's what I feel, and that's what I've experienced. So
Very,
just
very
sharing a
true.
small snippet from my own life. So you just mentioned that people
Amazing.
don't really discover what they like to do till they turn 40 or say 50, and then they discover it, and then they start doing it, and then maybe
People lead life
sometimes,
in reverse.
yeah, and then sometimes they may even regret it, that they haven't lived their life to the fullest. Just ran after expectations, ran after money, ran after fame, opportunity, but never listened to what they really wanted to do, never listened to their heart, right? So self-awareness kind of even leads you there, right? In the correct direction, right? That where you really need to go. And yeah, so really opens you up, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Very, very happy for you that like you got the time for yourself, and that stimulated, that triggered something much deeper within you. Very happy for you.
I think, Niranjan, one more thing I wanted to ask you. Today, in today's day and age, we see a lot of social media is prevalent, right? We have
Yes.
almost all our free time goes on social media, and because of that, say Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, etc., etc., right? So when that free time goes is taken up by social media, uh,
Mm-hmm.
does it impact us in some way? Is our journey or our self-awareness, is it impacting us in some good way, or what do you think? Is it impacting us in a negative way?
Very good question. Very good question. Very, very relevant as well. And before I expand on this, did you want to add up? Because I felt I interrupted you midway in the question. No.
No,
Yes.
that's fine. No.
All of these I see as tools. See, I mean, a knife can be chopped, but for chopping vegetables to make a delicious dish, or it can be used to kill a person, take away a life. So all of these are tools. I think it is really amazing that we have this device because we have internet on our fingertips. They can listen to beautiful podcasts such as yours, and a lot of what I learned through home. There is this thing that you are the average of 5 people. And for me, most of those 5 people would be my online mentors. A lot of what I learned through phone. So all of these are tools which can be very, very useful. And I really think it is about the way that we use it. It is about the way that we use it. We can use device to learn from some of the best minds of the world. We can learn new skills. We can, like anything or everything. I mean, we can change our entire careers. I mean, you can escape your 9 to 5, do what you love doing, just using this.
Yeah,
Right, just using this device that we have in our pockets. How beautiful is that? Now,
amazing.
Right? How beautiful is that? But then it can also be used to in all sorts of meaningless ways. It can be used to destroy others' lives.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, these are just devices, and it is what's most important. The device for which we actually don't get any manual, but the most beautiful device is our mind, our brain.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So,
So true. So true. So I think you just kind of shed light on another important aspect. I would like to just shed a little bit light on what I read about, right? We talked about self-awareness. Now we just kind of move towards a little bit towards self-regulation also. Just you mentioned that depends on how you use it, right? It boils down to self-regulation. Now, self-awareness and self-regulation are part of a bigger umbrella. It's called emotional intelligence. So, now emotional intelligence has three more components apart from self-awareness, self-regulation. That's motivation, empathy, and social skills. And all these five elements are the bedrock of emotional intelligence, right? So somebody who is self-aware, is self-regulated, is motivated, empathizes with people, understands what they're trying to say, and understands their emotions as well, and kind of has social skills, is emotionally intelligent. And emotional intelligence holds more value than general intelligence. It's called, say you may be an expert in some field, but if you really want to grow as a person, focus on emotional intelligence. So that's what I read about. So I think even from this, through our conversations, I think I want to bring out these elements as well, right? Maybe in our future conversations, we can pick up some topics from this and focus on that, and eventually create a template for people to understand themselves better. That can be an action item for them as well. Even I'm not saying that I'm self-aware or 100% self-aware. I'm not sure what I'm doing in life, right? I'm just getting some direction from somewhere. I'm just doing it. So I feel that I have achieved, say, 5-10% of self-awareness maybe, but
it's a journey in progress.
It's a journey. So
talking about an action item, Divyansh, before we end this podcast episode, let's discuss an action item as well.
Yes.
Grand takeaway from this podcast.
Yes, episode. Absolutely.
So, what I would say is regarding the journey to starting with self-awareness, like I told you earlier, involvement in actions, whatever is it that we do. But that is still a very, very vague statement. One solid action item. I started my journey by asking this question, why? Why is it that I do what I do? And we can start, for everyone, I really think this is a very, very interesting exercise that can be done. All of our life decisions that we do, why is it that we do what we do? Why? Where did it come from? Why is it that we do? And that immediately leads to where it came from. It can start from the most fundamental of things, from the time we wake up, to the kinds of food, to a choice of food that we consume, to the choice of information that we consume. Every single thing. Right? So, the clothes we wear, why? Where did it come from? Are you wearing a particular kind of dress just because others told you it looked cool? Or is it that you really want to wear, that you really think is comfortable?
Agreed.
Anything, all of this. And that can lead to bigger choices. Once we can answer this simple question, we can lead to bigger, like our career options, like relationships, all of it. This is what I would recommend. How about you, Divyansh? I'd love to hear from you as well.
Absolutely. I think
you being on this journey.
Yes, we should begin with this question. And I think while questioning, the process of questioning is going on. the process of journaling also, it's quite helping. Writing down stuff.
Yes.
Whenever
Writing
you ask
down stuff.
questions, yeah, the answer should be written.
Yes.
Maybe it may not be perfect, but it may just be written. So I just rediscovered writing. I'm just showing you my notes and all that. So
Oh wow.
whenever I write the
Mind
notes,
maps.
right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I write, I kind of feel that I'm kind of connected to my childhood also, because that's when we start writing and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
naturally, it brings out more content. Naturally, brings out, kind of takes me to that flow state. So if I compare it to writing on the laptop, and I kind of feel that writing on the paper takes me to the flow state faster, and
There's a connection.
yeah, I'm more hooked to the process. So I think for anybody who's starting out also, they can actually just start writing their thoughts. uh, Whenever they question themselves, why, what, write the answers on a sheet of paper and just see what's coming out, right? And if they want, they can actually even discuss that with their friends, maybe their family members,
Yes.
maybe. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
external
Yes.
self-awareness,
Yes.
maybe. And
Yes.
that's another thing they can do. So yeah, I think adding on
Yes.
to your
Yes.
beautiful point, I think we can even start with writing and journaling also.
Right. This discussion with the person whom you trust the most, with
Yes.
whom you can talk without any filters, and who can give an unbiased view is very, very helpful. Usually, that is why people go for mentors as well. A mentor
True.
is a person who can give you directions without without any bias. And mostly, it is very, very helpful when you're looking for a mentor to find someone who's not related to you in any way, because there is no attachment, there is no vested interest. I mean, if we consider our best friend to be our mentor, maybe that person's views might be biased because of his personal fondness towards us. He might not want to go with us.
Wow, that's so true. That's so true. So I think let's let the audience and the listeners get on their own personal journeys, and we would even like to hear from them also after a week, maybe, if they once they start on this process of self-awareness as to where they have reached.
Yes.
They can even reach out to you on the on Instagram at @SoulFlowArt, or they can reach out to me. Yeah,
you can write to me at teamsoulflow@gmail.com.
Yes,
share your experience.
absolutely. I think you can even guide them on their journey as well if they're confused. So, Niranjan, I think it's been an amazing episode, and I hope that we'll create more episodes around awareness, around empathy, around discovering our Buddha nature, right? So we need more episodes on self, apart from just other things which are going on in the world. Very important, I feel. So I'm glad we had this episode, and I think even the content you shared was quite insightful for me personally, and whatever we shared was insightful for you as well. and the listeners also. So I think they may have just taken some value from this. On this note, Niranjan, I think I'll end the episode, and let's have another episode in the future. And even the listeners who like this episode, they can even send in the entries to Niranjan or me as to what they want to listen to from us, and we can actually go ahead and record and even go live sometime with the audience, right? If we have a good audience.
Amazing. Yes.
Chalo. Great, Niranjan. I think that's it for today, and I hope you take care of yourself, and be more self-aware. The people who are listening to the podcast are more self-aware. Cool. Thanks, Niranjan, for joining in, and let's connect sometime. Thank you.